The path to the Stanley Cup continues for the Dallas Stars tonight as they meet a familiar division foe in the Colorado Avalanche. Welcome to the official Stars vs. Avs Series Preview.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome to a special crossover edition of Locked On Stars and Locked On Avalanche as we get you set for round 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. My name is Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Game number 1 between the Stars and Avalanche gets underway tonight in Dallas, and I was able to catch up with Chris from Locked On Avalanche to discuss this upcoming series, which is shaping up to be an absolute doozy for the Dallas Stars. But it was a lot of fun discussing the Avs' first-round matchup with the Winnipeg Jets and how Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar just went absolutely berserk, the storylines between the two teams, and what this series is going to look like moving forward in the next couple of weeks. We also give our official predictions in the final segment, so be sure to stick around for that. But a lot of fun getting to talk to Chris, so I'm not going to waste too much more of your time. We'll jump into that conversation in just a bit. But today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Game off, we got to talk more about Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes, like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go. It's now free on the Google Play or App Store. Game on. Without further ado, here is your official Stars vs. Avs series preview. Welcome, Stars fans. Welcome, Avalanche fans, as we get you set for round 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And alongside Chris Maselli, I'm Joey Erickson. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I am very, very pumped for this series between the Stars and Avs. I think it's shaping up to be a lot of fun. Before we maybe dive into some of the nitty-grittiness of the Stars versus Avs, I would love to just hear your thoughts on the round 1 matchup with the Winnipeg Jets. Many Stars fans know I never bought on to the Jets. Yeah. I thought there was no way that Winnipeg was going to come out on top. But we'd love to hear your overall thoughts and observations on the round 1 series for the Avs.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that real quick, man, I just wanted to say, Kyle, my co-host, and I, thinking about the people in Texas, with all the flooding and stuff going on out there. So our thoughts are with you guys. And, we get to talk about a game. I mean, and it is a game, and what they are going through is serious stuff. So, but they sometimes turn to sports for a reprieve and to kind of like an escape. So, if this series can be that escape for anybody that's dealing with some serious stuff out there, I'm happy to be a part of that. So, just wanted to throw that out there first. But as far as the Winnipeg series, I gotta be honest, man. Like heading into it, it was rough goings for the Avalanche heading into ending the regular season, going into the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to win it in 5. I thought that was I had game 7 written all over it. After that first game, that was just a shootout. I'm like, oh great, this is how this series is going to go, which the Avs can do because they can score, obviously. And then just the switch got flipped and they played shutdown defense. Georgiev turned the page. And they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And Winnipeg had no answers, surprisingly. They had no answers with that defense. You thought they were going to figure it out. They couldn't. And the Avs just kept rolling. So how I felt at the beginning of the Winnipeg series is completely different how I feel going into this series with the Stars.
Absolutely. I mean, I could see there being some cause for concern because maybe 5 days before the series started, Winnipeg beat the brakes off the Avs. Yeah. So that can be a little scary heading into that series. But no, Colorado looked really good and dispatched them in 5 games. But we turn our heads now to the Stars versus Avs. First time they've met since the bubble run. So a few years from now, but I think it's just really, really 2 talented teams. And for the Stars' sake, they had a wonderful performance from Wyatt Johnston. That feels like the biggest storyline coming out of round one, and Wyatt Johnston's just ability to really take over games for the Dallas Stars, something that he's done for about a month and some change now. And from what I felt, the Stars' depth really took over as the series moved along against Vegas, and Vegas is extremely, extremely deep as well. And this time it was the Stars that just had a smidge more of depth to be able to take down Vegas here in round one. Would love to hear your thoughts on some of the big storylines. What is the main headline for the Avalanche coming into this series, besides maybe MacKinnon just lighting the earth on fire?
Well, that is interesting because he had a good first series with Winnipeg. It wasn't the Nathan MacKinnon, I am just going to take over and own this game, and there's nothing you can do about it. But by how that series went, he didn't need to. Like everybody was contributing. And that is a kind of a big question going into, not going to say a question, like, can it continue is the question, because their depth was fantastic in the Winnipeg series. And it wasn't horrible during the regular season, but so much of what the Avs went through in the regular season was just these ups and downs and these peaks and valleys with everything, with the exception of scoring. They had no problem scoring all year round, but depth was an issue. The 2C was an issue. And then they traded for Casey Middlestat. He's been great in the postseason so far. So they had, like, all the pieces were there. And I feel like they just had to get enough time together to gel. And round one could have been when it all had come together. So going into round two, does that continue? Does all the stuff kind of even itself out? Do they still get good goaltending? Does the depth, their depth hung with and outplayed Winnipeg's depth. Dallas has as much depth, maybe even more than Winnipeg does. So they got to do it again. Like what they did in Winnipeg, as far as the depth guys, they got to, run that tape back and play it all over again. And then, if you get that Nathan MacKinnon, I'm going to take over. Mikko Rantanen, he ended the series very well, but he too had a ho-hum kind of first round for Mikko Rantanen standards. So I think those guys are going to want to put a lot more weight on their shoulders too.
Yeah, it's two teams that boast top 5 offenses in the NHL this season. So I wonder if it does come down to maybe the defensive matchup or which top guys produce enough, because for the Stars, frankly, they didn't get a lot of their top guys to produce. You look at Pavelski and Roope Hintz. They were very, very bleak in the first 7 games. And that is something to be positive about looking forward. If you're Dallas, like, look, we just beat Vegas and we got 1 point out of Roope Hintz and Joe Pavelski. If they come to life here in the second round, maybe you feel a lot more confident about your chances against Colorado. The defensive groups in general, I find extremely intriguing just because of the additions both teams made. Like Chris Tanev coming in for Dallas just changed the entire identity of this Stars defense that frankly did to Vegas what Vegas does to other teams, and just suffocate them, especially when they're holding on to leads. And of course, Cale Makar is a world-class player in this league, but you can't forget about the Sean Walkers of the world and all of them that make up that entire group. So those two sides of it going in, I think, is really intriguing. And maybe that's the edge one team has, is who's gonna be able to just hunker down and hold on to a 1-goal lead with 5 minutes to go.
Defense is another area where the Avs were up and down all year long, and maybe more down than up, I would say. And it's odd to say that because, they bailed out Georgiev a bunch of times. But again, if we're going for, the postseason is a new season, then I'm good with where the Avalanche have been defensively. Throw that first game out. That first game was just, I don't know what it was. It was just, nobody wanted to play defense. Every shot that was taken went in. Remove that, and they just, the tune changed. And defensively, like they were holding Winnipeg when they were up in the third periods, and they were holding Winnipeg to single-digit shots on goal in the third period. When you knew that everything was going to get thrown at, they were going to throw the kitchen sink at it because they got to get back in the game. And they held them one game. I think it was 3 shots on goal in the third, and another game was 5. So they really have turned the tide defensively. And again, that's another thing that they have to do against Dallas, because you mentioned Pavelski, and Kyle and I talked about that on yesterday's episode. I hate the fact that he didn't score a single point in that first, because he's an Avalanche killer to begin with. So now you add, this extra piece on top that he didn't score at all. I'm afraid of that. I don't like that.
Yeah, and he's one of those players, right, where he's never relied on his speed or his just really athletic ability. So that's what's been allowed him to age with such grace. And I know there were some Stars fans out there like, oh, you need to scratch him or whatnot, but you don't take out that type of player with pedigree, especially in a game 7, number one. You just let him figure it out, and he's bound to get to his spots. He had a couple of really good looks. He missed a few tap-ins. I mean, frankly, in the first series against Vegas, like it was that kind of series. Sometimes I think there was one in game 3 that it just like went right between his wickets, and you're like, that's just what it is. Maybe the hockey gods aren't shining down on Mr. Pavelski. So yeah, hopefully he can get going in round 2. Would love to hear maybe an unsung hero from Colorado's side here throughout maybe the entire season, maybe not just the playoffs, maybe someone that you look at that maybe doesn't get highlighted as much as the MacKinnons and McCarrs of the world that could have a huge difference in this series. So
he got notoriety as the season went on, and this is a guy who could also be, not to skip too far ahead, but like a key player in this series. Yeah, if he plays in it, and that's Jonathan Drouin. He didn't play in the first round, so because he was injured with a few games left of the regular season. They knew that he was going to be out for. Actually, I don't remember exactly the game that he got injured. No, I think it was the last game of the season. It was the last game of the season.
Wow. Yeah.
And so they knew he was going to be out for the first round. We don't know yet if he's going to be playing this series. We did find out that he is at least making the trip to Dallas.
Okay.
But no word on if he's actually going to play game 1 or whenever. He's been kind of a revelation this season for the Avs. Started out a little bit slow, kind of getting his bearings with a new team, a new city, a new system. Yeah. And he was dropped from the top line he went down to the 4th line. I think it was a healthy scratch even, or very early in the season. And he never let it get to him. And by the end of the year, he is top line solidified, and is a huge part of what they do offensively, especially in that top line with Rantanen and MacKinnon. So, and that was another reason why going into that series with Winnipeg, that's how much of an impact he's made. Was like, man, we're down Jonathan Drouin, and we don't like that. Like, seriously, like if were we saying that beginning of the year? No, we would not be saying that. But that's where we are with him. And he's a big part of what they do. So I think as far as like an unsung hero that you really you were hoping he could have a really good season, and he absolutely did. It's got to be Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah, I was scrolling through to Twitter today, and I saw that 2013 draft, and the Avs have 3 of the guys in the top 10, thanks to the Stars too, and Val Nichushkin, which never just panned out for Dallas, unfortunately. So they kind of stole the show there. Colorado did in 2013. Well, I think that really helps us segue into our next conversation about some of the key players in this series. So we'll hop into that in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Game off, we got to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about it, but hey, there's just so much great stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock as well. There's just so much to do and so much to get with Monopoly Go. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. They have cool new playing pieces to travel boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings, or you can steal their money, which is what it's all about. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day, constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include unique mini games. You can dig for treasure and all that good stuff. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzy. So go ahead, take your smartphone out, takes 30 seconds, download Monopoly Go. It's on the Google Play or App Store. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now on Google Play Store or the App Store. Game on. Alrighty, so Chris went with Jonathan Drouin as maybe an unsung hero. So we're gonna touch on some of the bigger names or key players in this series between the Stars and Avs, and we're just littered. We're spoiled with some really great talent here. So I'm super excited. For the Stars side, I have to go with Roope Hintz. He seems like a forward for the Stars, if he can get going, can really take over a series. And he did it for a good chunk of last year's run. And I don't think he's 100%. Who is at this time of year, to be honest? But I think there's just something that has him off his rhythm. But as the series went along against Vegas, I felt like there were some more flashes and some signs of that. Man, I mean, I don't think the Stars can win without Roope Hintz. I don't think they can beat the Avs if he has 1 point in the series. It just feels like he has to be more productive. So for me, Roope Hintz can drag the Stars as far as he can go. And if they don't get enough production from him, that'll have me very weary about the Stars' chances heading against the Avs. Is there anybody like that maybe for you, where if Colorado doesn't get a performance out of them in, let's say, 6-7 games, that maybe it's a tough go?
Yeah, and you mentioned his name already, and I'm not bringing him up because he's a former Star. It's Val Nichushkin. It really is. His Jonathan Drouin, we talked about his importance to the Avs, and it's there. Amplify it by tenfold for what Val Nichushkin means to the Avs, and the numbers back it up. When he's not there, they struggle. They do both offensively. His forechecking is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
He is by far the team's best forechecker, and not only that, like, he's obviously a big body, so he that net front presence is that's his house. That's where he does his dirty work, and it showed in the first round. 7 goals in the first round. He was everything that they always need him to be. So he's that guy. If he, I mean, we have Cale Makar, you have Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Devon Taves, like, you know, the list goes on. Val Nichushkin is as important to what the Avs do than any of those guys. So is it catastrophic if he doesn't show up? No, because you do have those guys that can pick up the slack. But a lot of what they do in a roundabout way goes through him. Not like there's seeking him out, because it is a lot of cleanup work, but they have to pay attention to him, which allows Nathan MacKinnon to do what he needs to do on a power play, and it opens that cross ice pass on a power play to Mikko Rantanen, because you have to respect him in the net front. So definitely Val Nichushkin is a key player for the Avs.
Yeah, and I'm curious because you mentioned him as a big body, what the physicality may be like between the Stars and Avs, because I felt both the Stars and Avs probably drew two sides that, you know, were pretty big and heavy, and those I wouldn't peg the Stars or Avs as a real heavy kind of bruising team. Like, they want to get out and run for the most part. So I'm curious to see how maybe that takes shape here in this series, because the Stars, they kind of bucked up in that series against Vegas. I mean, Jamie Benn especially, but you always expect that from 1-4. So I'm wondering maybe how physicality plays into this, and or maybe we just get a classic. We're gonna run up and down track meet.
I don't like, you know,
some fun hockey at the same time.
Exactly. Oh, I love that stuff. But the Avs had to do that as well in the first round, and they were up for it. Shockingly, they are not they are not out to headhunt or seek you out and just drive you into the boards. They were matching Winnipeg shot for shot and hit for hit. And I think in the first 2 games, they had 99 hits. The Avs did. They don't do that. So it's like, okay, like if they want to play that game, they can do it. And I feel like they knew Winnipeg is the bigger team, and they would maybe try to throw their weight around. So let's match them right from the jump. It'll be interesting to see. I agree with you. I'm interested to see like where these two teams, what's the feeling out process?
Yeah.
Is it we're both built on speed and offense, and let's just have that be what this series is going to be? And if we need to mix it up a little bit, we got, I don't think either team has a problem doing that from time to time.
Yeah, I want to say too, the first round in general, some of the most hit totals, I feel like in a while, I felt like that was kind of going around. I mean, I think the Stars and VGK added up to like over 100 hits in one game. It was just incredible. And they were just trying to kill each other, especially
crazy
in that game too. Another key player I want to throw in there, and maybe this is a cop out, but Miro Heiskanen has to play at a level that is at or better than Cale Makar. Like those two going head to head, I feel like Miro has to play to his potential as a top 5 defenseman in the National Hockey League, or, live up to Cale Makar. He's like, I feel like the prototypical #1 defenseman. He has to play up to that level for the Stars to have a really, really good series. Also, due to the fact that the Stars are deploying a 5-man D unit, because they are not, I don't think we're going to see Niels Lundqvist the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He was the culprit of why Vegas scored in Game 7 because of a missed assignment, and he had already not been playing much. I mean, maybe over 2 minutes a game, and that was pushing it. So Miro has to take on what is a lot of ice time. He's playing over I think 26 minutes per game so far. And along with just the entire D-corps as general, what are their legs going to look like as this series moves along? I don't know how long it's going to be sustainable. They were very, very good against Vegas, but as the playoffs roll around, you may have to deal with some bumps and bruises. Like, how sustainable is 5D going to be for head coach Pete DeBoer? I think that's a huge question, and maybe they have somebody that can step in. They're hoping for Yanni Hakanpää to return. That's kind of their big bruiser on the back end, but I mean, he's been hurt for, I think, going on 2 months now. They brought someone up from the AHL to kind of serve as the 7th defenseman. And they also got Liam Bichsel, which is one of their highly touted prospects, back to North America. He actually played in Europe this year, but he's back with the Texas Stars in the AHL. And he could be an option. I don't know if they want to just throw him into the fire, but sometimes you need a body. Sometimes if you're only going to play him 3 minutes a night, then maybe he can fill some of those roles. So I'm interested in just that matchup. And I mean, Makar versus Heiskanen. It's going to be a treat watching those two go at it all series.
That's good. By the way, Hakanpää, one of my favorite names in the league.
Yes.
Just to throw another guy out for the Avs. He's been Mr. Postseason since they got him, and that's Artturi Lehkonen. He's that guy that just has a knack for playoff hockey. And he does everything. He's always in the right spot, scoring goals. There's just short of it is just, he just knows how to play playoff hockey. And that's what they were hoping to get when they acquired him. Well, I'll say he's gone above and beyond of what they expected of him when they acquired him. He had a nasty injury early in the season, kind of head on right into the boards, and he lost a lot of time because of that. But he's bounced back since he came back, and round 1, he was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he can continue that too, because like I said, even in the cup run, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, 8 points in the first round. That's that is is more than capable. So he'll definitely be someone that the Stars have to keep their eyes on. They have to keep an eye on a lot of Avs sweaters. So it
works both ways. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be a battle for sure. Alrighty, let's jump into some stats, and then we'll finish this thing up and talk about our official predictions here for this series, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Anybody from Denver and Dallas should be really excited about what's taking place in the postseason for the NHL and NBA. You got the Nuggets on a run, you got the Mavs, and of course the Stars and Avs. Go ahead and sprinkle some money as you get in on the postseason action. Hopefully the Nuggets can push through in the Western Conference. Maybe we get the Mavs and Nuggets meet in the final. How about that? It feels like the Stars Avs should be a conference final too, but this is it needs to be back to a 1A. I think me and Chris can agree to that. But get in on the postseason action, guys. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Once again, make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Alrighty, Chris, I want to begin this segment with this little stat, this little nugget, because I found it fascinating for Dallas in round number 1. This comes from Dmitry Filipovich. He's a great follow just for anybody that loves hockey in general. And he's kind of a Stars guy, so I don't mind. he seems to be on the Stars, but he said Chris Tanev played over 144 minutes at 5-on-5 in round 1. About 93 of those minutes came against some of the top 2 lines against the VGK. He said the Dallas Stars won those minutes 5-0. So Chris Tanev has made a huge difference, and he was fantastic in that round 1 series. And I kind of alluded to it earlier, just how he's really changed the makeup, and he's raised the ceiling, I think, of this Dallas Stars decor, because it was frankly a worry all year. Like, what are we going to get out of this Stars side? Like, what is their are they going to be good enough to win a Stanley Cup? And I didn't think they were pre-trade deadline. And it's amazing what one guy can do.
Oh, yeah.
and Chris Tanev has been everything that the Stars thought he was going to be coming in. And I feel like there's probably a lot of different guys for the Avs that you can point to that have kind of done that, like Middlestad and Walker have come in, just kind of fit. VGK kind of wanted to bring everybody in, and maybe it didn't all come together at the right time. And I feel like it's been opposite for the Stars now. Maybe it's coming together at the right time.
Yeah, I think the way the Avs operate is like total opposite of what Vegas does. It just they don't want to go for a name; they want to go for fit. And that's exactly what they did. And even bringing in a guy like Yakov Trenin, who's been phenomenal for them. And they brought in Brendan Duhaime. He hasn't done a ton, but at least he gives them a little bit more size and a little bit more grit. And that's all they really wanted from him. But Middlestat, that was a glaring need. And it took him a little while to get his feet wet and get acclimated to the system, but he's been fine. So I like how the Avs operate when it comes to free agency and trade deadline. Is we're not going after names, we're going after need, and they do it in a smart way. So, and they did it again this trade deadline.
Yeah, you can never have too many centers.
No.
I mean, Stars have 2 on like every line. That's the way Pete DeBoer likes to operate. You got to win draws. Draws are huge.
Oh man,
special teams. And so
that is an area where I can tell you right now, Dallas will smoke.
You think?
Is face-offs. They cannot win. That is the worst part of Nathan MacKinnon's game.
Is it really?
He cannot win a draw.
I thought
it's perplexing. I don't know.
Really? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's Stars. I think we're top 3 in the dots this year. It hovered around 50-50, I feel like, for most of the series against Vegas. Where they really struggle was on the power play. Just like, couldn't win a draw on the power play. And that can be so deflating if you lose it and that's down the rink. It can really, really throw your special teams in for a loop. What were the special teams like for the Avs in the first round? I'm curious, maybe were they rolling, or was it kind of just meh?
No, they were good. They were good. And that was another thing that was up and down during the course of the regular season. But they were good on the power play. Even on the penalty kill, they were fine. But that's, that's huge for them, as it is for any team, right? So if that's not wrong, I mean, we saw what happened in game 1 between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. And the Hurricanes were 0 for 5.
Yes.
The Rangers were 2 for 2, and the 2 goals they got were within like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It's huge. So that goes without saying. That's going to be a big point for both of these teams easily. Yeah,
it changes games, and whether we like it or not, sometimes the stripes can have a big factor in games. And even if you get a call you hate, sometimes you just have to kill it. You just have to kill it off. Ottinger got a tripping penalty in game 7 the other day. I was like,
I saw that.
That's what we're making in a game 7.
I
but
know.
Hey, credit to Dallas. Like they just killed it off. You have to do that.
Yeah, you're going to get calls that don't go your way. And like you said, you just, they're not going to turn it over or overturn it.
Yeah,
so fuck up and kill the penalty. What are you going to do?
Unless you get a forearm shiver to the face, then it's a minor.
Yeah,
that draws blood.
Right. Yeah.
There's some curious calls all over the place, and it's not just that series. It happens to everybody. That's for sure.
Had them. Absolutely, we had them. Yep.
Okay. Let's do official predictions. So the floor is yours. Give your official prediction for Stars Avs.
So I'll throw this out there too. In May 10th of 2023, so almost a year ago, Gabe Landeskog went under the knife, and it was a 12-month recovery for what he went on surgery for his knee. And they have said all along, we are not entertaining a comeback for him until May 10th of 2024. That's not that far away.
Yeah,
he is skating, and every time you see videos of him, he's stepping up a little bit more.
Yeah,
Kyle and I have said we don't think he's coming back at all. Take the extra few months of the off season, and just strengthen it even more. Come back game 1 of next year. But if let's just play the what if game. And if he does come back, let's say, I mean, he's not making a trip to Dallas that I know of. So, but what if his first game back is back on home ice in Denver and Ball Arena? Wow, that would just be a moment, and maybe something if it could turn the tide. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's just a left field thing. If even if it doesn't happen, people who listen to Locked On Avalanche know all predictions that I am done making predictions that are anything less than 7 games.
Yeah.
All my predictions are 7 games. And I learned that last year when the Avalanche played the Seattle Kraken, when we all thought they were going to roll over them, and that didn't happen. So I learned my lesson then. All my predictions are 7 games. Even if I didn't have that rule, I think this thing is going a full 7 games. And you just never know when you get in that situation. It's just like we're saying, it's a call here or there. It's puck luck here or there. So it could go literally in either direction. I have to go with the Avalanche clearly if it's going game 7. But I no way am I just saying like, oh, it's going to be a walk in the park. It is not. This is going to be a great series.
Yeah, and I mean, Landeskog can be sort of a Stamkos. He did that to the Stars in 2020. He came back in that final. Like that was something that
wasn't
happened.
Even putting that together. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So look, I want Landeskog to be perfectly healthy, but I don't want to see him in this series. If the Avs make it to the Cup, then you can join. Okay. Then you can join. But for now, there's no reason for you to get your fingerprints in on this one. And I mean, I share a lot of the same sentiments of you. It feels like a 7-game series, and and I'll take the Stars in 7. I think they did great for. I really applaud them for playing the full 82 to the bitter end to get home ice, because I think home ice early in a series does not matter. I mean, look at the last Star series that it literally proved to really be nothing, but at the same time it did. They won 2 games on home ice, which was the difference. And they wanted to win the Central, they wanted to win the Western Conference. So they had that ability to have game 7 on home ice. And I think that gives the Stars an advantage if it goes 7 games, but it's just shaping up to be such a fun series. And I shared that I thought last series was some of the best hockey I've ever watched. Like, it was just a ton of fun watching Vegas and Dallas go at it. Like that is not a prototypical 1 versus 8 seed.
No,
that is not a 1 versus 8. Some of the best hockey that I think, and this is shaping up to be so great. And MacKinnon is one of those players you just get on the edge of your seat every time he touches the puck. So, and then you kind of have like Wyatt Johnston, the up and coming center. That it's like, okay, man, like here we go. Now you play up against this guy. And then, maybe both of these sides, whoever moves on is going to have to face the best player on the planet.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of intriguing storylines.
I think you have guys, like you said, like Wyatt Johnston in that, he wants to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
What better way to do that? You're going up against, Nathan MacKinnon, who in all likelihood will be a Hart finalist. And a team that won the cup not that long ago and is still in the market to keep doing that. So yeah, like guys like him, they look for series like this to really make a name for themselves. So I'm expecting a big one from him too.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome. This was awesome. Thank you so much for joining. We should have done this a long time ago.
I know. Yeah. We'll do it off season. There's a lot to talk about with moves and free agency and draft and all that stuff. So we do a ton of Kyle and I do a ton of crossovers. So I'll bring him into the mix for the off season, and three of us will get together and talk about the moves that we hated or loved come off season.
Hey, former we didn't even get to talk about this, but Matt Duchene, where's he going to end up? Where's he going to end up? Because his contract's up. Man, we forgot to bring that up. That's like the most obvious one.
You know what? I think Avs fans were very happy that we're in a minute 33 of this episode, and we finally brought up Matt Duchene. They're fine with it. They don't need to hear about him.
No, not at all. I think that's more of a heartbreaker for Nashville at this point.
That's the thing. He's been on like 5 teams now. I'm over it. Like I don't like I'm over the Matt Duchene thing, but there are some hardcore fans that just never forgive him.
Yeah.
I have, but now that they're playing, this is they're gonna want to send him home again, because that's the whole reason he left the Avalanche.
Pretty wild. It's like the second time in his career he's been past round 1.
Yeah.
Like that's just I mean, for just such a great player. But he's kind of gotten the knock where he's not really a playoff performer. I mean, he's never really stepped up huge. So
and we have the whole series. So we have the whole Suter and Parise matchup. The two guys that got cut from the Minnesota Wild are finding themselves in round 2 of the playoffs.
There you go, Wild. There you go. Finally in the second round. Unnecessary shot at Minnesota. Had to.
We love Seth. He's a good guy.
Yeah. All righty, Chris. Well, thank you so much once again. Appreciate everybody for joining us today. Be sure to follow Locked On Avalanche. Subscribe to Locked On Stars. We'll be throwing stuff out there every single day of this series. So we're looking forward to it. So everybody have a great rest of your day. Enjoy game 1 tonight and enjoy the rest of the series. And who knows? Maybe we'll link up again before the series is over. All righty.
Absolutely.
So long, everybody.